All right, here we are. Welcome back to the Anxious Love Coach podcast. I'm so excited today. Oh my God, you guys. Today we are talking relationship anxiety in long distance relationships. This is being recorded on a Zoom call, which means it's also going to get uploaded to YouTube, which is really exciting. So you can see Sheridan and I having our little interactions and our inside jokes. We get along so well. Sheridan is my co-coach. Most of you guys already know that, but if not, Sheridan helps me run Anxious Love Coach and is literally the heart of Anxious Love Coach. You guys have no idea. She's amazing. Today, Sheridan is going to be sharing her experience with long distance and having relationship anxiety. My partner, Preston, and I, we've been together almost 10 years, but we never did long distance. So most of you guys know that I share techniques and I share from experience. And if I don't have experience with something, I don't speak on it. So it's nice to have an angle of relationship anxiety to have here. So thanks for coming on today to talk long distance with us. How are you?
I'm excited. Feel juicy about this. Yeah.
I'm so excited too. Yeah, and I also last night before we're on here, and maybe I'll take a little story while you're talking. But last night I posted on Instagram and I asked people to contribute a couple questions. So I have a few things. We have some things we want to cover today, the gist of relationship anxiety within a long distance relationship. But I also have, maybe if we have time, we'll cover a couple questions from Instagram. Does that sound good?
Yeah, that sounds fun. I'm curious to know what people have asked.
There's a lot of the same flavors of what I think you're already going to cover, but there's some good ones too. You have anything you want to share before we dive in?
I will say that, to me, it sometimes felt like because I've been long distance with different partnerships and had some flavor of relationship anxiety with both, and also been together with that person and had the same flavor of relationship anxiety. And I will say that sometimes it feels like it's an accelerated, deeper process when you're not physically with them. And so it can be really hard, but that doesn't take away from how hard it can also be when you are with them. Like, both of them have their unique challenges. And so just, kind of like a little disclaimer, like, it is hard, and that doesn't mean that it is not also hard when you're with them, or that one is harder than the other, or that one is better than the other. Both are difficult in their own ways. Both have their pros and cons. So kind of take it with a grain of salt.
As in, it's hard in a long distance relationship versus not a long distance, or it's just as hard when you're apart from them as when you are together with them? Is that which one?
For me, it's felt like it's like an accelerated healing process when you're not with them, because things are heightened and you have space away from them to kind of do your own inner work. But that doesn't mean that it's not also accelerated when you're with them. It's just accelerated and hard in different ways.
Yeah. And actually, before Preston, I had a guy that I was with for almost 5 years, and we did do like 2 years of long distance. And arguably, I had relationship anxiety in that relationship too. So actually, maybe I do have some thoughts about this. All right, let's do it. Everything on long distance relationships. So I guess the first question I want to ask is, how do you deal with not having the person there when you, and I'm looking at, we have 5 things we want to majorly cover today. So my question is, like, how do you deal with the discomfort of not having them there all the time?
It's hard because when you're not with someone, okay, let's say that you have an argument, or it's not even an argument really, something feels off at some point, and there's different levels of off. There's, I feel anxious about this, to full-blown escalated argument. When you're not physically with them, it can feel hard to reset, right? So usually when we are physically with someone, there are a couple of things going on. We can read their body language. We get a sense of reassurance. if you're anything like me, I've definitely had a lot of thoughts like, oh, my partner is this way, or he's going to hurt me, or he's just going to abandon me, or he's abusing me like my ex was. I've had thoughts like that. So when I'm not with him, when I haven't been with him, it's been really scary because I don't get to have the reassurance of seeing his body language, seeing his tone, seeing the little habits that he has that give me the reassurance that it's not what my mind is telling me that it is. And you don't get to touch them. Obviously, you don't get to touch them, but it's really hard. You don't get to touch them, so you don't get to like feel the connection physically with them. It's almost like you have to create this reconnection with them after something that has been difficult. You have to recreate that magically by yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it can feel like if you don't have that reconnection, that things can spiral out of control really easily. If you don't have that reassurance, things can spiral out of control really easily. And also, sometimes it can also feel like you are in a extended argument or an extended constant dis-ease. It's just like everything is extended, and sometimes there are just little peaks of, oh, this is really good.
Yeah.
But most of it is uncomfortable.
Most of long distance relationships is uncomfortable. Yay. Hard truth. And I think to add to that, and the reason I share this, and I'm guessing you're sharing this, is not to say long distance relationships aren't worth it because they're so uncomfortable, but more to say, if it's been tough, it's not because you suck. It's not because you've done something wrong. It's just long distance can be really, really tricky. And there is, I think, a nugget of gold in the sense that it forces you to become self-reliant on creating connection from within, self-trust from within. But I mean, it makes sense that long distance would be so difficult because the connection that you used to get from physical touch, from body language that isn't just from the shoulders up, unless you're doing like a full body video call, which most people don't do. Let's be real. Right now,
They're awkward. Yeah,
they're all, everything is heart up, which is, if that. So everything that you used to read, you now have a smaller window to read through. It's kind of like, during the pandemic, everybody's eyes have gotten so much more expressive because we're all wearing masks, because you're trying to do all of your face language through just your eyes. And long distance is very similar in the sense that you have to do all of your body language through just your upper chest. And if you don't have awareness of body language at all, you're not going to make it necessarily a more conscious effort to convey the little nuance that you normally would be able to register in the physical presence of someone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So what can we tell people to do? Let's just get you into the nitty-gritty of what we can start to shift if we're feeling in that like discomfort and it's been a while.
So there are a couple of reasons why you're going to feel discomfort. Sometimes it depends a lot on kind of your attachment, your lifestyle, the reason that you're doing long distance. All of these things can come up, and they're all going to change and be different for each person. So there are two things that I found really helpful. One is self-sourcing, that's self-soothing. So kind of identifying, okay, what is happening inside of me? Do I need comfort? Do I need companionship? Do I need fun? Do I need someone to listen to me? Why do I need someone to listen to me? So when you notice that you're feeling anxious, or you're longing for them, or you're even feeling angry at them, or you're just feeling that anxiety and those big emotions, noticing what it is that you actually need, what is at the root of that. We've talked about this before. I think there's a whole podcast episode on this. If they're not, there probably should be.
We've got modules.
We've got modules
on these. Yeah.
So this is module 1, guys, if you're in RAA. So identifying that need, right?
Yeah.
And doing what you can to get that for yourself away from the partnership. Because the reality is the partnership is just not as available. And if it is, it's not available in the same way. So kind of building your muscle to self-source, like nurturing yourself. And the other thing that I found really helpful is that depending on your partner, depending on their availability, depending on how they like to connect to technology, is that one of you is most likely going to want the other to be in contact more than the other wants, right? So person A is going to want to be in contact more with person B than person B wants to be available for. This depends on your personality and what you're doing in your life.
Yeah.
Most of the time that has been me. I've been the one who wants to like message all day and send each other emojis because that makes me feel really safe in the relationship. So I notice that when I don't have that constant connection, I get anxious and I feel unsafe, and that's natural and normal. It's not bad. But I also notice that I want to respect that my partner doesn't like waking up to 10 messages from me. It makes him anxious. I think it's lovely. I'm like, yeah, they thought about me. I get excited. But he doesn't get excited about that. So I want to respect that that's kind of a need that he has. And I want to respect that space that we have. And I also think of things while I'm when I'm not with him, especially if there's a time difference, right? So while I'm going about my day, he might be sleeping and I have all of these amazing things happen that I want to share with him, but I don't want to wake him up to 10 messages from me.
Right.
So what I started doing, which was really, really wonderful and beautiful, was creating like a journal for him and just writing down all of the things that I thought of when I wasn't with him, and writing them down in this little journal. And I would kind of just write like love letters to him, little notes like, oh, I missed you. And it was just this really beautiful way. And in the beginning, I started doing it not because I wanted to share it with him, but because I wanted to express the love. Missing someone, in the same way that grieving someone is a misplacement of love. It's when you have lots of love inside and you don't have a place to put it, and that can cause pain or discomfort. Doesn't need to be pain. It's uncomfortable. So we have all this love inside. You miss someone, like, oh, I just have all this love inside. Put it into something. Paint a picture. Sing a song. Do a dance. Write a poem. Cook a meal. Take a picture of it.
Yeah.
Have an outlet. And maybe it feels right to share it with them when you talk. Maybe you meet each other, like say at the end of the time period. So what I did, I had this journal and I wrote all these little love letters, and then when we got together again, I like presented it to him and I was like, hey, I've been writing this for you for 5 months. Here you go. And it had the dates, so it was really romantic. It wasn't intended to be that way, but it was really a nice gift. So find ways to express it that isn't necessarily like sending them lots of messages or expecting them to be connected with you in the way that you want. And if you're the one who needs more distance, you're allowed to suggest this to them in a really nice, open way. Like you're allowed to communicate what feels good for you and recognize that it might feel different to what feels good for them, and get creative about ways that you can both act. Get creative about ways that you can both act and find solutions without dishonoring anyone. Like really get creative.
Yeah, I think it's also worth mentioning. I think there's a love coach that I really love named Annie Lala. She's the wife of Evan Pagan, and she said that this doesn't just apply to long distance relationships, but to all relationships. And this is just polarity at its finest. There's usually one person that's more focused on the we, and there's another person that's more focused on the I. Not just me, I, but like your I as well. Like your partner, the partner that's more focused on the I-ness in the relationship is concerned with both of you guys having individual lives. And the person focused on the we is more focused on the usness, doing things together, growing together. And you actually need both in relationship. You can't just, it's like if both people are on the us, then you have nothing to draw each other to one another. If you're only focused on I, are you even in a relationship? So to your point, there's usually going to be one person that's a little bit more focused on the individuality within the relationship, and one person that's going to be here making sure that we're still in a relationship. So I think that it's, you know, sure, there can be anxious, avoidant dynamics where both people are feeling anxious because they're worried about how the other person's feeling all the time. But I also want to remind you that it doesn't have to be that way, where you can have a relationship where you both simultaneously trust that the other person respects your boundary. And a boundary doesn't just mean like, you know, don't send me 10 messages a day. A boundary is also don't exit my space too quickly. You know, sometimes boundaries isn't just like crossing the line. Sometimes boundaries are don't leave the line either. Like don't leave the boundaries of the relationship. Stay emotionally available with me. So boundaries go both directions. Don't leave, but don't come too close when I'm not ready. And it can, sure, I think what makes something more anxious avoidant dancey is the energy behind it, the urgency, the fixing, the rescuing, as opposed to something that is chosen and agreed upon is where it starts being more healthy. And I think in a long distance relationship, it's even more highlighted. The I-ness versus the we-ness matters extra.
Yeah. Yeah. In so many ways, and the decisions you make about it and how you go about it. And it can become a little bit almost like scary if your partner is very focused on the I-ness and you're very focused on the we-ness, and you don't have the capacity or the availability to communicate about what that actually means. Sometimes it can become really scary, like, oh, have they just forgotten about me? Because you don't have the reassurance of seeing them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So good. Do you have your notes that you sent me pulled up? If not, yes. It's all good. One of the things that you wrote, and I want to kind of bring us into that, because we did, you know, have a little structure for today. Things that happen that you might make equal that they aren't the right one, but may just be part of long distance dating. Can we talk about that?
Yes. Yes. I wrote some down. Maybe we can add to them.
Yes. Go for it. Take the lead.
So okay. So things that happen that might equal that you might think equal, he isn't the right one or she isn't the right one, but they might just be a part of long distance dating and the thing that happens. So number one is being disappointed if when you finally connect with them by video call or you see them, you do not feel big romance or fireworks, or maybe you even feel anger and disgust.
Can you say that again? It just cut out. Being disappointed.
Being disappointed if when you finally connect by a video call or see them, you do not feel big romance or fireworks, or you might even feel anger and disgust.
Ooh. Normalizing the shit out of this. Let's do it.
We're speaking with a really wonderful woman who's actually in our group program right now. Hi. We talked about this. So when you connect with someone over video call and you're feeling disappointed or you're feeling anger or disgust towards them, just like in a normal, in the same city, in the same place, geographical place relationship, feeling disappointment or feeling sadness even, or feeling conflicting emotions, feeling anger towards them or feeling disgust, maybe has less to do with what the relationship is, whether or not it's the right one, maybe has less to do with what is happening to that specific person, and maybe it's just pointing you to something that is uncomfortable inside of you right now. For example, if your partner is let's say that your partner went to the other side of the country to pursue the career that they have been wanting to pursue, and you are in the same job that you've had for the past couple of years and you're not loving it. And you call them and they're like, yeah, just really busy doing all this stuff. And you're like, yeah, really busy doing all this stuff. And you see them and you get angry at them. It could be that it's highlighting your discomfort with your job or your life. Not so much about them. Not so much about whether or not they are the right one. Or maybe you see them and you don't feel like the romance that you used to feel. This could be so many things. It could be your connection with yourself. It could be that you're nervous. It could be that you have been fantasizing about this moment that you're going to see them for weeks, days, months, and then it happens. And just like Christmas as an adult, sometimes it's disappointing.
Oh, yes, it's so true. And I even think that pressure that we put ourselves under actually contributes somewhat sometimes to the disappointment.
Yes.
We expect, especially if we've been feeling so unsatisfied with our lives, our jobs, or just the day-to-day life with its disappointments, we're hoping that moment is just going to be perfect and it'll fix everything. And I swear, I don't know if this is the case for you, but I notice the more I pin my expectations on any moment in the future to like pull me out of life's discomfort, it never goes well for me.
No.
There's no magical moment in the future where you're going to feel like, this fixed it.
Yeah, I did it. Now I can be happy.
I'm done. Yeah, so true. Yep. I remember this is sort of related, and I remember having a moment in Preston. I went to a meditation retreat with my teacher Steffi in Austria a little over a week ago, and I actually had this grief come up, and it's not the most it didn't come up and I cried about it. It was just a moment of like, there's grief here. Okay. It was a grief around, I'm not the proudest of this thought that I had that was connected to the grief. It was the grief that like, I went through some shit in my life that he didn't have to go through.
Oh, I have that all the time.
I'm like, wait, you didn't have that trauma that I did, that like fucked up thing happened to you? And the way I try to mitigate that is like by controlling his internal process. Like, I'm doing all this work on myself and I'm healing so quickly, therefore you should too. When in reality, like, no, he didn't go through all that trauma like I did. And realizing that is really disappointing. It's like, wait, you didn't go through that. And it's like the wanting for empathy, the empathy that we're not going to get really.
The empathy that I was going to say, like that flavor of empathy that we want around our specific trauma, I truly believe that we can only give that to ourselves. Other people can kind of touch on it, but they're going to miss the mark even just slightly. Yes.
And so the reason I bring this up is if you get on, your partner moves across the country to follow their dream and you didn't do that, you might feel, and it's sure, you can call it irrational, but it's also really human to hate them a little bit for following their dreams while you didn't. That would make a lot of sense. And you can be like, you can admit it and be like, I hate that you got to do that and I didn't. As happy and proud of you as I am, I hate that you got to do that and I didn't. Or I hate that you didn't have to go through what I went through. Let's just say it out loud. So your partner might be going through a totally different life experience than you, and that might bring up some stuff.
I think this also goes for families. Sometimes if we come from a family that hasn't been ideal, we might find ourselves with a partner that has kind of the picture perfect family, and sometimes family situations can be, or even friend situations can be uncomfortable. And it's like, I'm happy for you. I know that you have that. And I'm grieving at the same time the fact that I haven't had that. Like, it's just, it's okay to have both.
It's real.
Yeah.
It's real. And I want to say it's not petty, but even if it is, so what? Like, it's real. So, oh, can you talk about enjoying your alone time?
Yeah. I love.
If I'm enjoying my alone time, it must mean I don't love him.
Yeah, because we get sold this idea that like your partner is meant to make your life better and make your alone time better. And you're almost meant to want to spend every moment together and be joined at the hip. Well, the reality is we're all humans with different necessities, and enjoying your alone time. I also think there's also, on the other side of the coin, there's almost like this, oh, you should be allowed, you should feel good alone. And I want to invite everyone to like take all of the meanings and all of the shoulds off of this experience that is spending time alone. If you like spending time alone, wonderful. It means that you like spending time alone. That's all that it means.
Yes. And if you miss your partner, that means you miss your partner.
That's all that it means.
That's all that it means.
Yeah.
There's no wrong way to feel alone, be alone.
No, there isn't. Some people like being alone, some people don't. Some people want to be alone for a certain period of time and then not alone. And it's just your unique way of being human, and it's perfect.
Yeah. I remember I used to get triggered when I didn't miss my partner. Both my ex, when I was long distance, there would be times I would miss them, but there would also be times where we wouldn't see each other for months and I didn't really miss them that much. And that used to freak me the fuck out. When in reality, it's like, hey, you have a life and you're living it. Like, that's normal. And at the same time, like, a lot of us crave the emotion, the internal experience of missing someone. And I think it comes when it comes and it goes when it goes. You don't chase a feeling. It's just, it comes sometimes, maybe. And it doesn't mean anything about your relationship necessarily.
It means that the feeling isn't there. It's like it's a little wave that comes and then it goes. It just, if it's there, it's there, and if it's not there, it's not there, and it doesn't mean much else.
Right.
And it's okay for that. I think when we start looking at it like that, it helps us on many levels. It helps us process the emotions, and it helps us remind us that it's okay to not have them as well.
Yeah. It's so weird to share that you could not miss them, and then when you see them, be mad, and you could still maybe not even necessarily be in the wrong relationship. That doesn't sound right, but it can be true. You can be not missing them, and then when you see them, you're disappointed. And that doesn't even have to mean you're doing something wrong. And now I'm not saying force a relationship that you don't want to be in, but more than likely, if that's what's happening, it could have a lot more to do with just where you're at in your life. And it really comes down to, in this moment, do I want to work on the relationship? That's it. If the answer is yes, you keep going. Or are you done right now? But without all the certainty and the trying to figure out of the future, I think especially in long distance relationships, boy, I'm having more to say about this than I thought I would. But if you're in a long distance relationship, it's easier to make meaning about everything because they're not there to bring you into the present moment of this relationship. And there's more uncertainty.
And that is really scary. And I feel like that uncertainty heightens a lot of the things that you might already be experiencing.
And sensitive to.
Yeah, and sensitive to. I know that sometimes, someone will say, I'm not going to go into a long distance relationship unless there's an end date. And an end date can be very helpful. And we are also living in 2021. Pandemic life. End dates may not be viable. They may not be a part of your reality. And
that's a good point.
It just keeps coming up, and it's just, having kind of grace with yourself and I think that it's just another reminder to like see your relationship as a mirror for what's happening inside of you. Letting want to go with that.
Yeah. That makes sense. I think one of the things that also makes it harder is people's comments and opinions about your long-term relationship or long-distance relationship. And if you're listening to the podcast, Sheridan just doubled over and put her face in her hands. So what's that about?
I've just had so many times. So I've been long distance. I was long distance with my ex. We were long distance for about 6 months, and my current partner and I have just been long distance for almost 6 months as well. And before that, I was also long distance actually when I was younger. Yeah, for about a year on and off. He went to boarding school, so we saw each other intermittently. So I've received many comments, and they've all been to different levels, really, really triggering, because just like, every comment that you're going to receive at some point, I think that it goes to we've talked about triggers. We did our last podcast on triggers, so it's shining a light on you. But I know that I can say that when I'm in long distance relationship, a lot of insecurities come up. Is this the right thing? Can I actually make it through this? Am I going to be able to? Do I even want to? Is he cheating on me? He could be. Is he going to abandon me? Is he living a double life? Is he a narcissist? Am I a narcissist? All of these doubts are highlighted. So people will make comments. People will say things like, oh, I wish I had your strength. And then inside you're like, well, so do I. I don't have strength. I'm dying inside, but I can't tell anyone. Or, oh, I don't know if I could do that. Or, oh, I don't think I could trust a man. Or I had my doctor say to me before, my doctor says a lot of triggering things, but she's been with, she's been with my family since I was born before that. And she said to me, oh, yeah, you better go back because, you can't trust men by themselves. And I was like, oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, sure. And thankfully I was in a better place so that I could deal with it. But people say a lot of things and it can be really scary. And I think that people almost feel like they want to see, I think that, all those comments come from a really good place. They most likely care for you to some level. Even if they've just met you, they understand that you're a human. They don't want you to get hurt. So they say things, and even though it can be really triggering for you, it comes from a good place. But when it is triggering for you, it's just a little reminder to go and do the inner work around that trigger. And it tends to happen a lot when you're already managing what is difficult. So it's normal to find yourself even spiraling through those triggers. Catching yourself, if you notice that you're spiraling in those triggers, or if you notice that it impacts your day, or if you notice that you have a lot of emotions around it, or if you notice that you start fighting with your partner after you went to the doctor and the doctor said something, we don't want to encourage you to spiral. We don't want to encourage you to do things that you're not excited about, that you're not proud of. But I want you to know that it makes sense. It's okay. You don't need to feel guilty about it. But when you catch yourself, that's okay. Catch yourself and see if you can do something that you would prefer next time. See if you can manage it in a bit of a better way.
Yeah.
But don't beat yourself up about it. Just see if you can just see if you can do something different next time.
Yeah, because a lot of times this is a pattern that we're working with. So just changing a little thing is enough to slow down the inertia of that pattern.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I did there was one of I forget which podcast it was. It might've been the one on triggers that we did. When people make comments like these and it brings up something in you, all I think of is, if you put two guitars next to each other and you pluck one string, the other guitar, the same string is going to vibrate. So all that's happening is they're not triggering you. They're just shining a light in a spot that's already wounded inside. So people aren't giving you some magical truth. They're just saying the thought out loud that you're already having. So it's really all about you. It's not about them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Maybe can we talk a little bit about the transition to see them again?
Yeah, the transition can be really interesting because once again, we kind of hype it up. We're like, oh yeah, we're gonna see them, we're gonna see them, we're gonna see them, we're gonna see them, we're gonna see them. It's gonna be amazing. We're gonna have crazy sex. Oh my gosh, I remember I was without my partner for 5 months. So we did long distance, but we were just in different suburbs in lockdown here in Colombia.
Yeah.
And I saw him after 5 months. I hadn't seen him because of lockdown. And my friend messaged me, and I was literally in bed crying and having a panic attack because I hated where we were living. And I saw him and he wasn't doing the things that I thought that he would do. Like, he hadn't cleaned the room for me. And I was really upset about that, but I didn't want to be upset because I hadn't seen him. So I'm like literally laying in bed and crying. I answered a WhatsApp message on my phone. My friend goes, "Oh, Sheridan, I'm so surprised that you messaged. I thought you were going to be having crazy sex right now." And I was like, oh my God, am I failing? So, and I've had a transition where it really felt like all of that energy was building up and we saw each other and it was wonderful and beautiful. And it was everything, he had the flowers and it was like a dream, like a movie. But what was different was where we were both at in our life. It didn't comment on the quality of the relationship and whether or not we should be together. How we felt when we saw each other commented on where we were in our life. In the first one, where we felt awkward and insecure and we were frustrated with each other and we were like, oh God, is this a good idea? And how are we going to do this? It was commenting on the fact that we were both really insecure in our life at that time. And many of our fundamental needs were not getting met.
Right.
When we saw each other and we both felt really wonderful and he bought flowers and I got dressed up and I cleaned myself like I had like a shower before I saw him at the hospital, at the airport, as much as you can. And I put on new shoes. It was a comment onto how I was feeling in my life. I was excited. I was, it felt like spring. So this is normal. It's okay. And what comes up in the transition, just be with yourself with it and be with him. It's also hard for him, or it's also hard for her.
Yeah.
It's okay, because I think that you said something like this once, maybe many years ago, back in the day. Just like, I might be wrong, but it's more about how you feel overall in the grand scheme of things than attaching meaning to one thought, one emotion, one day, or one event.
Yeah.
So if you can feel okay, and you don't have to, even if you feel okay and you don't want to be with them, that's okay as well. But if you can feel okay and excited and the transition is difficult, yeah, transitions are hard.
Yeah. Transitions are hard. Even a transition from something that you didn't want into something that you do want, that transition can still be hard. Yeah. How about having fun?
Have fun. We'll have all the fun. Okay. So I really generally think that the best way to live life is having as much fun as you can. And if you don't like fun or you don't know how to have fun, that's okay as well. Stop, pause, take that and see what you need to, how do you bring more fun into your life? So, and I think that you spoke about body language, is that the more fun you can bring into the relationship, the more it's going to feel like you are with that person. I notice that sometimes when you're in a long distance relationship, you will connect and it feels heavy because you both don't want it, and it feels frustrating. You feel angry and maybe you don't even want to speak to them. So if you can build fun in, whether that be from just using more emojis when you're talking or paying attention
or
to
texting.
When you're texting, using lots of emojis, and when you're talking, see if you can find more fun in your body language or in your voice if you're on the phone. I don't believe in texting too much. Maybe we can go into that later.
Yeah, I agree with you.
But using as much fun as you can. And I think that you can connect, say you want to connect once a week. Let's say that you want to connect on Saturday. Don't feel obliged to connect and like talk about your life. You don't have to do that. What can also be really cool is to like connect and play a video game together, connect and watch a series together on Netflix. You can like both watch it at the same time, press play at the same time, connect, and you can do so many things. I think a friend of mine, she did like an online theater event that they had, or they went to like an online zoo together. Listening to the same music, like sitting down and listening to the same music, or sitting down and listening to the same podcast. And if you don't have anything in common, me and my partner don't have a lot of things in common in that sense, that's okay as well. Just like bring in some fun and innocence to it and see what you could possibly do together. Even if it feels awkward and weird, you can still suggest it. You can go online and you can say like fun virtual date ideas. There's heaps of this content out now because we've just had COVID. So you can play charades. I think there's like an online game, charades. You can go to a really fun one is askdeepquestions.com and use the curiosity cards and ask each other weird questions that are just, don't go too deep because they have deep cards as well. Use the fun ones. Like get really, really creative, because the more that you get yourself in the present moment.
That's true.
And you remember the relationship.
Yeah. I mean, if I were in a long distance relationship today, I would be using the Oculus Rift thing. I should get paid for this, dude. Because the virtual reality is incredible nowadays. We are in Austria right now, and all our friends and family are back in the States. And my mom and I, we put on, she has like her virtual reality goggles. I have Preston's, and like we play Beat Saber, and you know, you have the controls in your hands, and you can be in the same virtual room together playing like ping pong or something. So there are so many ways to kind of like feel like you're in the same room, even if you're not. So if, you know, I think that the Oculus is gonna change things a lot, in the sense that like you can play together, you can have fun together. There's more ways to be connected today than ever before. And I don't, you know, you can abuse it for sure. Absolutely. Like I really don't believe in texting all that much, even if you're not in a long distance relationship. Even if you live together, don't text to have the deep topics. If you have to, use voice text, because that way they can at least hear your energy somewhat through your voice. They can feel you a little bit more. But so much gets lost if it's just words. I remember when I had one foot out the door, and we had like I had a big relationship anxiety episode, and then I was trying the next day to explain to Preston like to forgive me and like have patience with me, and I was like telling him that stuff over typed text, and he would be like, I would be like, baby, I would text him saying like, baby, I promise I'm in this and I'm really serious, and he'd be like, are you sure, via text. And like, for those of you listening, I wonder if you can feel the like just from hearing the "are you sure?" because it's like on text, it's black and white. Like there's no body language, there's no other variables or nuance that can be carried with that "are you sure?" You know, there's only room for black and white conversations on there, similar to social media. Like all the context, all the nuance, everything gets lost. So I guess I stole that from you, but don't text.
No, you agree with me.
I agree with you. We agree. Yeah, so don't text about the bigger things.
And even like during, I also think like, especially with long distance, I notice this not so much when we are together, but with long distance, like try not to text. I'm sorry, it's hard. I know I love to text, and my partner will literally be like, Sheridan, we said we weren't going to WhatsApp. We're calling each other at 2 p.m. And I ask him to do that, because don't text, because you might you might be experiencing, okay, let's say that you're experiencing anxiety or he's experiencing something and you're texting about something and it can be quite minuscule, but the way that they respond, you don't know what's happened in their day. They don't know what's happened in your day. So they are responding. Maybe they're responding in a short way. Maybe you respond in a short way. It could just be that they're busy, but you don't know that because you're not connected with them enough to know that. So you might make it mean something else. And then when you finally do connect at 2 p.m. for your phone call, you bring this energy or they bring this energy that might just be based on something that would have been easily avoided.
Yeah.
So really try, even if it is just 5 minutes, or even just send a voice message or a video of yourself, maybe. Try to not text.
Strong stance.
Strong stance on that one.
All right. Do we have time? Do you have time to take just a couple questions from Instagram?
Yeah, let's do a couple.
Okay. Let me find my little stories. Oh man, there's a good amount. Ooh. I'm just gonna throw this one at you.
Okay.
What to do with the fear of meeting someone new?
Ask why are you scared? Why are you scared of that? And then ask why are you scared of that? And what would happen if that? This is a bigger one, and this is coming. Okay, so this is the bigger. What if I cheat? What if I ruin this? What if? Well, okay. What if you do? What would happen? What would you feel?
Yeah.
Are you already feeling that?
Yeah.
To some degree.
Right. The way I see it is, you'd probably feel some kind of guilt or disappointment or devastation. And if you have no more space for those emotions, that probably means that you're already occupied with them, which means deal with that.
Deal with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Because when you have a lot of space inside, because you've cleared out a lot of old gunk, you will be open to being heartbroken. You will be open to being disappointed. You will be open to dance with life in that way when you have moved that out of the way. You won't be so afraid of heartbreak if you have witnessed yourself handling it well in the past. Yeah. Were you going to add something to that?
I was going to say that I think that this kind of question also comes back to self-trust, and we talk about this, and self-trust is a deep topic. It's a complicated, it's a process. It's something you cultivate over time, and you actually do cultivate it as well by trusting yourself to process what is there and be with what is there. But if you can start thinking about, like, what do I trust myself to make decisions? And if I don't, what happened that gave me the idea that I couldn't? And can you be with whatever comes up there?
Yeah, beautiful. So it's interesting because we literally we didn't even really address the outcome of that possibility. We just went right to the root of it. That's a thought. What if I meet someone new? Guess what? That's a thought. It's just a thought. It's just a projected possibility of another reality. That is possible. Anything is possible. But you're not afraid of some circumstance. You're afraid of how you're going to feel during that circumstance. And that's where you need to go. Let me see. I feel like most of these we've already answered. We answered so many of these. Okay, I think we'll just do one more. How to manage the spiral of not feeling attracted after you haven't seen them for a while.
So this is closely related to disappointment and excitement. So you have an expectation that you should feel attracted to them, after you haven't seen them in a while. And other people's comments, like my friends, will add to that. We have an expectation, right? And
you should be having crazy sex right now.
Yeah, you should be having crazy sex right now. Are you excited to go and have sex? It can be really triggering. So it's about, this is a thought. So what does it mean to you? And you can look at this thought and you can say, okay, what does this mean? Is it possible that there is a different meaning? Is it possible? Could there maybe be a slight little piece that maybe this doesn't mean that there's something wrong? Could it mean something else? Maybe it does. And if you find that there's a little piece of you that says, okay, maybe this could mean something else, go back and listen to Natalie's podcast with her aunt about getting turned on.
Yes. That was a good episode.
Good episode. Yeah. And also the one on sex anxiety, because I think that covers the concept and how I feel about the concept of being attracted to your partner.
Yes.
And there are other layers, but that's kind of a good starting point.
Yes, I think so. Before I can complain about my lack of attraction, I have to ask, am I even turned on towards anything at all right now? Especially, we just spent 2 years in a pandemic. A lot of us have not left the house. We're feeling kind of blah. And to expect that your partner, who is just as imperfect as you, is going to magically hold the key to your aliveness, I don't know about that. So we have to learn what to do with this precious body of ours. I'm very fascinated lately with the path of Tantra. And Tantra, I think a lot of people associate with like tantric sex, and it has to be the sex thing. Really, it's not. Tantra has everything to do with being and experiencing. And if you're numb to life and you're numb to everything, part of the process is learning to feel again. Not just the anxiety, not just the big grief about, 2020 and 2021, or people that have passed or people that you haven't seen. But I don't just mean the big emotions. I mean, starting to feel into the smaller nuances inside, the little sensations of your clothes on your skin and the breath from, anapana breathing, noticing your breath below your nostrils and on right above your upper lip. Like you can feel the breath passing over that if you get still enough. Stillness being my key point here. If you're just going, and you're on Zoom calls 8 hours a day, like I am lately sometimes, you might be, all your attention, it's almost like you're plugged into the matrix and you're on your phone all day and your attention is in your computer, like literally. Okay, I guess not literally, but like as close to literally as it gets. It feels like that. It really does. And if all of your attention is in your screen, and you're so connected to your phone that you feel one with it, and you have lost awareness of your body, Tantra is the practice of getting back in. And you're not going to go from magically being one with your phone to being one with your partner in the bedroom. It's going to take a whole process of unplugging, reconnecting with yourself first and foremost, before you have any capacity to connect with another person. And, it's going to be like doing a big U-turn on your energy, and it'll take time. It takes time, especially if you're a woman. It takes time to feel yourself again and remember who you are. It's not going to be something that you can do in 15 minutes for your quickie.
Yes. No.
Especially if you're like really tuned into your phone. So Tantra is a great practice to get turned on from within. And then from that place, you can go somewhere in the bedroom and you can find yourself feeling alive, and the attraction lies in that place. Because chances are when you felt attracted to your partner, if you had like a strong honeymoon phase, you probably were taking good care of yourself back then. And it might be time to do that again.
I might want to add to that as well, because I noticed I think a really wonderful place to start with the practice of Tantra, the practice of getting turned on by life, is just noticing. So we all have kind of an emotional blueprint that we feel comfortable in. And sometimes that is anxiety. We might feel more comfortable in grief and anxiety. and it might feel uncomfortable to feel joy or happiness. That is kind of your blueprint, right? That's where your nervous system is right now. And what we can do is we can just say, okay, I feel that these are regular emotions for me, and I feel confident feeling them. They don't feel good, but I feel confident that I can feel them, even if that might even be numbness. And then noticing maybe there are other ones present that you don't feel very often. And if you don't feel them very often, it means that you don't feel confident feeling them regularly.
Yeah.
So whether that just be, even disgust is one, or disgust is kind of funny because it's like the other side of pleasure in a sense.
Yes.
They actually are connected, even in the brain and the structure of the brain. They're very close, so you can feel them both at the same time. And so, do you feel contentment when you drink your coffee? Can you feel that a lot? Can you practice feeling that a lot? Do you feel happy at the end of the workday? Can you practice feeling that a lot? Do you feel neutral when you're watching Netflix? Can you practice feeling that one more? Can you become more present to that? Instead of like expecting yourself to go all the way to turned on and I love my life and I'm the happiest thing in the entire world, can you just practice feeling more of what else is there?
Practice feeling more of what else is there. I'm going to write that down. Because that was really good. Boom. Yummy. Well, thank you so much. This is awesome. We rock. Yay.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to share?
Nothing. Thanks for listening to us. This was enjoyable. I feel excited and turned on by life and happy. So thank you. And this is wonderful.
So cool when we get pleasure out of sharing as much as we hope you get pleasure out of hearing. And we have you, our listeners, we have a relationship with you in that way. And I think one of the most lovely relationships dynamics that you can have with someone is when meeting your needs meets ours as well. So this is great. All right, everybody, thanks for listening today. Just a couple of wonderful things that we are offering. I'm not sure when you're listening to this, but Sheridan, if you enjoyed Sheridan today and you enjoyed me today, we are taking new clients into our group program, Relationship Anxiety Alchemist. We meet on Zoom twice a week. Sheridan takes half, I take the other half. We also have office hours that we provide you for 5 months, which is crazy. So even if you're with us for 10 weeks, you're still getting months of support after that. We'll bring you in at the beginning of the month. So if you're listening now, September 23rd, 4th, by the time this gets out, you have a few days to get in on the October cohort. But if you're listening after this, go ahead and apply and we'll get you into the next month. And we would love to have you. We have a lot of fun in Relationship Anxiety Alchemist, as beautiful and profound as it is. Everything that we have covered here, the kind of mindfulness approach, learning how to feel deeper, learning how to practice feeling more of what else is there, that is exactly what we do. So we would love to have you head on over to anxiouslovecoach.com, click work with us, and apply to work with us in Relationship Anxiety Alchemist. So hope to see you, and thanks for tuning in today. We love you. And that's it. Thanks for coming on today, Cher. All right. Bye.